Now, to be honest, for bodybuilding work or hypertrophy work, anywhere between, you can be building muscle in the 3 rep range, you could be building muscle as high as the 30 rep range. Generally, anything that fatigues the muscle in 90 seconds or less is going to help you to build more muscle. But for the sake of efficiency, as well as psychological, and then also just your joint health, it's more practical to stick in that 4 sets of 8 to 12, maybe 15 repetitions for bodybuilding. Hello, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics EC, helping average guys perform better inside and outside the gym. So today's video is going to be a little bit of that outside the gym component, even though I am doing it inside the gym. What I'm going to be doing here is a little bit of a hybrid style of workout. So I talk about my hybrid strength style of training, which incorporates both traditional bodybuilding and powerlifting with Olympic lifting or power type exercises. It doesn't have to be Olympic lifting. In fact, you can do the hybrid strength style of training regardless of whether or not you have Olympic lifting background. Because Olympic lifting, you probably shouldn't be getting into training for that until at least 1 year of consistent training, possibly even 2 years of just consistent barbell training, doing back squats, bench presses, deadlifts, overhead presses, things of that nature before, and get really good at doing those, develop a solid base of strength in those, and then you can start training for Olympic lifts because they are a little bit more technical and it is pretty easy to get injured if you don't know what you're doing. So with that being said, the power thing, you can be doing things like, throwing a heavy bag over your head, you can be doing sprints, you can be doing box jumps, you can be doing sled pushes, sled rowing, you can do, med ball slams against the wall. There's all sorts of different variations that you can incorporate into a power phase of a hybrid strength workout. The other part of the hybrid strength workout is going to be muscular endurance, right? So that's typically for most guys who do powerlifting, bodybuilding stuff. Bodyweight exercises are going to be more considered muscular endurance type work, right? However, you get to more advanced calisthenics exercises. Those can be considered more strength exercises as well. In summary, whether or not a bodyweight exercise is considered a muscular endurance exercise or a strength exercise really depends on your level of lifting experience. If you're bench pressing, 200 plus, 300 plus, 400 pounds, whatever, like a lot of power lifters are, then push-ups are probably going to be an endurance exercise for you. I consider endurance exercises anything where you're doing 20 reps or more of that exercise. Even 15 repetitions is pretty high, but that's still kind of in the hypertrophy range. Now, to be honest, for bodybuilding work or hypertrophy work, anywhere between, you can be building muscle in the 3 rep range, you could be building muscle as high as the 30 rep range. Generally, anything that fatigues the muscle in 90 seconds or less is going to help you to build more muscle. But for the sake of efficiency, as well as psychological, and then also just your joint health, it's more practical to stick in that 4 sets of 8 to 12, maybe 15 repetitions for bodybuilding, right? And that's why that's generally recommended, because your workouts would take a really long time to build the amount of volume with heavy lifting. If you're doing just a lot of sets of 3 reps, you'd have to be doing, maybe 10 sets of that, right? And then you'd also have to be doing the longer rest period, just because heavier lifting tends to deplete your ATP a little bit more. It's more draining in the nervous system, and it takes you longer to recover from. So your workouts would just take a really, really long time, and it's not as efficient, right? On the flip side, doing 20 or 30 rep sets with really light weight is, for most guys, not super motivating, right? You feel like for the first half of it, you're not doing anything, and then you have to keep on going to get to that point where you start actually feeling fatigued. And so your workouts start feeling, really boring as opposed to stimulating. So in a hybrid strength workout, the format is typically where you, as quickly as possible, as you safely can, you get up to a heavy 1 to 3, maybe even 5 rep max in whatever your core exercise is for that day. Typically it's going to be like a deadlift, a squat, a bench press, right? Maybe even an overhead press, because you can move quite a bit of weight with all of those exercises, right? Those are going to be the most fatiguing, most draining. As with any workout, you want to put your most fatiguing exercises, front load them towards the beginning of the workout when you're the freshest, right? So after you hit that strength movement, you're not going to do multiple sets of that like you would in a powerlifting routine. You're just going to hit that one heavy set, quickly get up there as fast as possible, hit the heavy set, you got the mechanical damage. That's going to help you to at least maintain some of that strength, right? And then after you do that, then you're going to go, after a rest period, you're going to go directly into some power exercises for the same muscle groups that you just worked for strength, right? So if you were, for example, doing squats, maybe you're going to go and do some sled pushes. Maybe you're going to do some box jumps, just a sprint with your own body weight. Those are all different examples of what could be incorporated for a power exercise. Obviously, when you're doing sprints, box jumps, prowler sleds, those are all going to be using similar muscles to what you would be using in a squat. Now, there is some variation. If you're using a high bar squat, it's going to be more quadricep dominant. And if you're using a low bar squat, it's going to tend to be more hip dominant. Using a low bar squat forces you to be using your back a little bit more and your hips for that thrust. You can typically move a little bit more weight like that because you are using the hips, but then it's going to be not as quad dominant, and so maybe doing kettlebell swings, testing your vertical jump, something like that could be incorporated if you're doing a hip dominant squat. Also, your anthropometrics, or the ratio of your limb lengths, right? So how long are your shins or your tibias, right, relative to the thighs, and how long is your torso relative to that? All these things are going to kind of play a role in whether or not a squat is a quadricep dominant or a hip dominant exercise. So the same thing goes for your pulling exercises. If you're doing a deadlift, you want to select power exercises that are going to use similar muscles that you're using in a deadlift, but just more explosively. So you're going to, in general, for power exercises, about 30 to 60% of your 1 rep max for 1 to 3. Maybe at the high end, you're going to be doing 5 reps of that. But the goal here is to essentially have all those motor units firing all at the same time to drive that weight up and as fast as possible, right? So we're not typically really concerned with how much weight we're moving. We're concerned rather with how fast are we moving that weight. And that's kind of the definition of power. That's why sprinting, swinging a baseball bat, swinging a golf club, vertical jump, those are all measures of power. All right, so we have front-loaded the strength and the power portion of the workout because those are going to be the most fatiguing. In fact, some research has shown that power exercises have the capacity to help you burn body fat irregardless of diet. Now, granted, you can't have a completely horrible diet, but if you have a decent balanced diet, right, with proper bodybuilding or macros. Bodybuilding, powerlifting macros are pretty much the same. The main difference is that when the powerlifters typically don't try to get super ripped like a bodybuilder would, and so the macros change a little bit in prep for a bodybuilding competition. But in general, just a balanced, healthy diet. And then if you're training power, oftentimes you can help lose some of that fat even without reducing calories or cutting your carbohydrates. I am actually starting to lean on the side in general for for nutrition end of things is that because there's increasing number of studies, and you might have heard of something called G-flux, right? Where basically that they found in some studies, and so I'm caveating the nutrition thing because you probably heard the thing that abs are made of the kitchen. 80% of your results come from, at least in body composition terms, come from your diet, right? However, they're showing that, yes, I do still believe that, you need to be getting enough protein, right? That's just a given, right? And you should also be getting enough of the carbohydrates and fats too. You don't want too much protein either. I don't want to go too much off of the track of what the point I'm trying to make here though. So that what they found in these studies is that for example, one study, they had 3 different groups of people, and the one group of people, they put them on a calorie-restricted diet, right? And obviously they lost some fat, but their metabolism also slowed down a little bit in response to that, and they also lost a little bit of lean tissue because they were purposely not exercising for this study. And that's pretty common on, weight loss diets, is that your metabolism is going to slow, and you're also going to lose a little bit of lean tissue. And so the goal of a bodybuilder or somebody who's trying to get very ripped, or just for your general health, is that you want to try to minimize that loss of lean tissue, right? Okay, so in the second group, these people did not restrict their calorie intake. They simply kept the calories at the same place that they were, and then increased their energy output or their exercise, right? And so both of these groups, they're entering a calorie deficit, but the one group is entering a calorie deficit through calorie restriction, and the other one is entering a calorie deficit through increased activity. All right, so enter the third group. The third group did not restrict their calories. However, they did increase their activity level. Unlike the second group, though, they also increased the amount of calories they're eating. So at the end of this study, the first group, obviously, they lost the weight, metabolism slowed down a little bit. The second group, they lost some body fat, and everything, which is not surprising, given that they're in this calorie deficit. And the third group, they didn't lose any weight at all. However, they increased their lean mass slightly and decreased their body fat. So you probably heard, if you watch channels like Jeff Nippard's or something like that, about how he does this recompositioning, right? So you can recomp your body essentially without changing your actual body weight. You decrease the level of fat on your body, increase the level of muscle, and in that process you become just a generally healthier person. And for most athletes, you're actually going to be perform better as well, because we know that fat doesn't contribute much to athletic performance. However, muscle does, right? With the exception of if you're in the heavyweight classes of powerlifting or in strongman training, actually having that extra body fat on you acts as kind of a lifting suit, right? It gives you extra leverage to push again, for your muscles to push against. And so in that case, the fat can actually help you, make you a little bit stronger. Okay, so after the power phase, now we have the bodybuilding phase of the workout. We have, bodybuilding doesn't require maybe quite as much energy right out of the gate, for moving maximal amount of weight, right? However, as the workout gets a little bit longer, maybe you are requiring a little bit more carbohydrates and stuff like that to be able to facilitate longer workouts, higher volume, right? But in this case, we're not doing a full-blown bodybuilding workout. We're just doing some bodybuilding rep ranges and bodybuilding style isolation exercises after this. Maybe also some multi-joint exercises. So if we return to the case of the pushing workout, if you're doing a squat and then maybe you have an upper body workout in your main exercise, and you don't have to do this either. You can have just one main exercise for each workout. However, sometimes you can do a lower body primary exercise and an upper body primary strength exercise. So let's say you're doing squats and bench presses, okay? So now you've done your power exercises. Maybe if you wanted, you could do some, explosive chest presses or something like that, throwing a weighted medicine ball or something like that. Get a boulder out in the field and just chuck it out back behind the gym or something, if you have that kind of facility that you can do that, right, to get that explosiveness. Or you can choose to just have one primary power exercise that, goes with maybe your lower body thing, right? So that is up to you. Okay, so now we're doing the bodybuilding style exercise after we've done the power exercises. So what that might look like is maybe you're doing a multi-joint exercise like a row, or you're doing some pull-ups, or not not for this one. So let's say, for example, you're doing the bench press. Maybe you'd be doing some close grip bench press, or you'd be doing some skull crushers or something for a little bit more of that isolation, and you're doing higher rep ranges. If you wanted, you could even do bench press, close grip bench press, and maybe your bench press you're doing, you ramped up and you got to that, 3 rep max, and you back off the weight a little bit, do close grip bench press, and maybe doing, 6 to 8 reps on that. And then you superset that with a skull crusher, and you do the skull crusher, maybe even standing up when you're doing it, and you do that for anywhere between 10 to 15 repetitions to induce that sarcoplasmic hypertrophy effect, as well as getting the mechanical breakdown that you're getting from the heavy workout. All right, and so for the pulling hybrid workout, maybe you're doing a deadlift followed by a clean, or a deadlift followed by a kettlebell swing, and then you're doing pull-ups, and then you're either doing regular curls or hammer curls or something like that. And then after we have hit strength, power, hypertrophy, now we come into the endurance phase, right? So endurance, again, you're not going to need as much strength, as much energy and stuff to do this, right? So that's why we have it at the end of the workout. It's kind of the clean up any of that energy that has been released from the cells. Because the one other thing that I want to point out too is that, let's say, and a lot of times if you're doing these kind of workouts too, you're probably at a level of fitness where you don't have a lot of visceral fat. However, if you are wanting to try these workouts and maybe not do the Olympic lifts and stuff, have a modified version of this, but power exercises, sprint exercises, high intensity exercises like that, are actually very good at releasing fat from your visceral fat stores, whereas the subcutaneous fat underneath your skin, that's a lot more a function of low intensity exercise like walking, going for leisurely ride on a bike, and then having calorie restrictions, so like lower carbohydrates and keeping the protein intake high. Typical bodybuilding type of stuff is going to influence that. So anyway, now you have released the fat, or at the very least, you are using up muscle glycogen, right? And so towards the end of your workout, you are probably using less carbohydrates to fuel your workout, and you're starting to burn more fat. If you have your diet on point as well, and you don't have, because even as I said before, that exercise is more important, right? Because they show that you can recomp the body even without decreasing your calories. However, if your diet is primarily carbohydrates, or primarily carbohydrates and fat, as is pretty common in a lot of American diets and stuff, that you're not going to be able to tap into your body fat stores as much towards the end of a workout, because those carbohydrates are still going to be contributing to your fuel. The other thing is carbohydrates are a little bit shorter term fuel too, so if the workout does end up going a little bit longer, you're going to be tanking earlier, and this is more something for people who do want to do maybe this workout and then finish it off with some cardio, because they actually want to increase their endurance and become more of a hybrid athlete as well. Okay, so for those of you who are looking to just become generally fit, have well-rounded fitness, and also to achieve a better body composition, which is kind of what this workout is designed for, if you are just eating a basic balanced diet, or for some people, prioritizing proteins and fats first, followed by vegetables, and then with anything left over, if you actually need the carbohydrates and stuff, you can add those back in too. Typically, you need the carbohydrates when you're starting to gas out early in your workouts, and then you can add increase those back, add them back into the diet, and you'll regain your energy, kind of like a carbohydrate cycling style. Now, for people who don't have lots of body fat to lose or something like that, just keeping the diet balanced is going to be plenty to help you get through the workout, and also help you to maximize that fat burning effect as well. So the last couple of points on the muscular endurance portion of the workout, the purpose of, a lot of people, and especially guys, they tend to fall in this trap thinking that, if I'm doing HIIT workouts, or these super grueling workouts, or I'm getting exhausted and stuff, that's going to really help me to burn body fat. No, that's going to help you burn calories, which in the long run might help you to burn body fat, because at the end of the day, if you get in a calorie deficit, it doesn't matter if the calories are coming from fat or if the calories are coming from carbohydrates. Ultimately, you're going to be losing some weight, right? However, these high-intensity exercises, in order to do those high-intensity exercises, you need to have plenty of carbohydrates in your muscles, because fat is a good fuel for really long duration exercise, but it's not particularly good at doing sprints, doing burpees, doing, muscle ups, and, sprints, whatever. Anything jumping over a box, jumping rope. It's not really good fuel for those kinds of activities, right? And so if you are able to do that, you can pretty much be guaranteed that you're not tapping into your body fat stores. You are still burning carbohydrates to fuel the workout. When you get to the point in the workout where you're not able to, lift the weights and stuff, and you're just kind of dragging or whatever, you can't put out that same level of intensity, then doing these more lower intensity exercises can help to mop up any of that fatty acids has been released to the bloodstream, circulating around, any excess fuel, and then if you want, you can go and do some like low intensity, spinning on a cycle or something like that when you're done, just to kind of cool yourself down. And what I actually like to do a lot of times in my workouts is finish them off with some breathing exercises, kind of doing like Qigong exercises where you're kind of flowing with the breath. As you're doing it, it helps to calm down your central nervous system and bring you back more to that, state of rest and digest, which is actually optimal for your hormones anyway. If you're always in this high intensity extroverted state, in the short term, it's going to elevate anabolic hormones like testosterone, human growth hormone. But as the workout wears on, you start elevating more things like, cortisol, which is going to be detrimental to achieving an ideal body composition. And so for that reason, towards the end of the workout, we have muscular endurance, and then maybe some sort of like light cardio and yoga or Qigong or something like that to help kind of calm you down. All right, so the workout clips that I'm going to show in this video here are not per se an exact hybrid strength workout. I haven't actually done that in a while. If your primary goal is endurance, or if your primary goal is to become a better Olympic lifter, sprinter, or if your primary goal is to build the maximal amount of muscle you can or the maximal amount of strength you can, hybrid strength workouts are probably not the ideal workout for you. If you want to be really good as an MMA fighter, have that conditioning and stuff where you have the combination of strength, speed, and endurance, and having that stamina, or just to be overall good athlete, then hybrid strength style of training is going to be pretty good style of training for you. So for that reason, because of my particular goals, I haven't done an actual hybrid workout for a while, but I did want to kind of give you an overlay so you can kind of understand what I'm about to say next in the video. So I want to preface that by saying this is not an exact hybrid strength workout. However, it does incorporate things from the hybrid strength methodology. So in the workout here, I'm doing the bench press, right? Bench press, you're going to be using primarily your anterior deltoids, your chest, and your triceps, your serratus, and your glutes, and your back, and your lats are going to be involved to some degree as well when you're doing the bench press. But the prime movers for this exercise are going to be chest, delts, and triceps, right? So with that being the case, I superset it with some muscle up negatives. I always wanted to be able to do muscle ups when I watched it was a video from the 1950s, and it was set in medieval times, and there's this guy, Burt Lancaster. He had used to be a circus performer, and so in this movie or whatever, he's in the barn or whatever with his buddy, and they're hiding out from the bad guys or something like that, and so he decides he's going to go up in the loft, and he just jumps up from the floor, grabs the floorboards, and just pops himself up without using the legs or anything. And I said on that day when I was about 11 years old, I'm like, I'm going to do that someday. So one of my goals is to be able to do a muscle up. I have to get the pull-up bar set up outside though, because if I try to do muscle ups in this place, I'm probably going to send my head through the ceiling. So I got to wait on that. However, while I'm working up to it, I like to do negatives on that. So if you see in the video, I'm popping myself up on the top and then doing the negative portion of that. The advantage of doing bodyweight exercises like this, because sure, you could do close grip bench presses, you could do the skull crushers and everything, but the reason I like this is that at the very least you should be able to handle your own body weight, regardless of how strong you get, right? So a lot of skinny guys, a lot of really small guys can do lots of pull-ups, lots of push-ups if they're decently in shape, but they can't necessarily lift a lot of heavy weight, right? On the other hand, you get some bigger guys and they can move some really heavy weights, but they can't move their own body weight that well. Scrambling up over walls, doing pull-ups, doing distance running type stuff, maybe struggle with that. So as you get stronger, as you get bigger, at least in my personal opinion, for my goals, I want to maintain the ability to use my own body. The other benefit of that is too, when you're doing these muscle up negatives, not only are you using the triceps and the shoulders and the chest to varying degrees. Primarily it's going to be tricep exercise, and that's why I coupled it with the bench press. But you're also going to be using your forearms, your biceps to a certain degree, your lats, and then your core and abdominals to kind of stabilize your body on the downswing. Also, in a hybrid strength workout, you typically have pushing, pulling. You don't have, sometimes you do like a full body workout, but because of the variety of different styles of exercise, it could become a very long workout. So in this workout, like I said, it wasn't designed to be hybrid strength workout, but I did find that there were some elements that were similar. You're incorporating body weight exercises in with traditional weightlifting. You're incorporating some of that endurance type stuff with your pull-ups and everything. And so in this workout, I have the bench press, I have the muscle up negative, and then I have the pull-up and the commando pull-ups as well, and then finishing it off with some biceps curls. So one thing that I've found in my personal experience is that when I'm doing chin-ups, you would think that doing chin-ups would be great for the biceps, and it is at certain points. However, I have found that doing actual biceps curls and barbell curls and variations thereof actually seem to hit the biceps with more intensity than doing a chin-up. Even if I do a weighted chin-up, I'm doing a weighted chin-up, it's still using a lot of my lats and everything, which is okay, but I would rather just do pull-ups and then, incorporate some dumbbell curls or biceps curls in there for a little bit more direct arm work. And that's the way that I will typically structure my workouts. Alright guys, that about wraps up the video. Hopefully you guys gained some beneficial information from the video that you can take and apply to your own workouts. If you liked the video, hit that like button. If you'd like to see more content related to workout design, including muscle building, losing body fat, nutrition for building muscle, losing fat, how to avoid getting injured on your strength training journey, and if you do get injured, how to work around those injuries, consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.